Hey everybody, my name is Amanda Drews. I'm here for A Greener Demeanor, and today I'm going to talk to you about your waste. What the products you buy are made out of, where they go when you're done with them. Do they go to be recycled into something new? Do you reuse them? Do they just go and sit in the landfill for forever? And how you can take care of those things when you're done with them, and how you can prevent from having too much of those extra materials in the first place. We're going to go through the waste management hierarchy, and it is a tool that helps us figure out where are we falling as far as are we being more efficient or less efficient for the environment with the products that we buy. So, you know, like the old food pyramid, right? You have a big pyramid. On the bottom, you're making up the base of your diet with healthy fruits and vegetables. And then you go up and up and up. And at the very top, are things like sweets and fats that aren't good for you. So you don't want very many of those. You want a lot at the bottom, though. Well, the waste management hierarchy pyramid is that just flipped upside down. So at the top, you have the things that you want to do. And at the very bottom, those are the things that you want to avoid doing or do as little as possible. So at the top, we have your minimalists and your zero wasters living up here in like the penthouse. And the very, very top line, it's more on the producer's end, where we want them to have a little bit of responsibility to continually improve the items that they're producing, and that's through product design and source reduction when they're looking at the materials for building their products. So there is a little bit of a responsibility to those producers at the very top before those items are ever even made or sent out to the consumers. And they need to be able to do the best job they can, and it always should be changing. No item is perfect, so it's a continual thing that just has to always be happening, right? As a consumer, you can make a big difference by supporting the products and the companies that are redesigning and rethinking and reimagining the way that they do things and how sustainable they're doing. I strongly believe in the power of our dollars in supporting the companies that do these things. So it does add up, and companies do look at who's getting the more of my business. If I don't have a green product, which companies are stealing our business? So they want to make those products more sustainable as far as if it's going to mean bringing in more business for them. You also want those companies to be meeting or exceeding ethical standards as far as the people that they're paying to build your products and how much they're paying them and the quality of life that they're giving them and how they're treated when they go to work too. So it's not just about whether or not that item is the most recyclable or compostable or whatnot. It is about the people that are behind that product too and the communities that they live in. Reducing is the second from the top level. So we play a big role in just not buying so much stuff. Advertisers want you to think that you have to buy all these things, or to be a good American that you have to consume all these things, right? Or have all these things to have a good lifestyle or be looked upon as, you know, successful or whatnot. That is all garbage. You don't need all that stuff. Companies aren't going to want to waste their time producing things that people aren't buying. They lose out on money that way. So there's no reason to make stuff that people don't want. A big part of reducing is examining our wants versus needs and exploring different alternatives to buying those things new, or if we can make them or get them used, because that way there's not as many being produced, so you're not wasting that energy with the materials, the production, the manufacturing of that product. Reusing is when you use the same item to do the same task over and over again. So think about like refillable water bottles. That's a really easy one. If you're creative, this could be an area where you really shine in. Or you can use Pinterest to search for ideas, or Google ideas on, okay, I have this item, what can I possibly do with it before I dispose of it? And can I get any more use out of it before it's end of life in my home? We commonly reuse like yogurt containers or sour cream containers for a lot of different things. They live in a special spot in the cupboard in our kitchen. And like when we go to Thanksgiving or Christmas, we would trade food back and forth with those. I'll bring like a stack of them because I know my mom will have lots of different foods that I can bring home to put in there. And I'll sometimes share them back, but she cooks way better and way more than I do. But my son uses them for Legos to keep like Lego kits together when he has, you know, a certain set that he wants the pieces for. And there's lots of different things you can reuse that stuff for. If you don't want, you know, your garbage all over the house, that's okay. You don't have to have a house filled with all your old stuff. It's all right to not feel guilty about not reusing every single thing you have. And I think it's actually really hard. All right, recycling. Oh, recycling. It is good, but we do lean on it more than we should when we buy something and think, oh, well, this is just recyclable, so it's totally okay if I buy it. It sometimes makes us lean on that rather than thinking about those higher steps in the hierarchy on whether we actually need it or not. But recycling's great. We just have to do it right. So there are rules to recycling, and we'll talk about all those too. And if you do it right, it can make a big, big difference on the energy saved from those products. When we do recycle, a lot of times we don't do it the right way. And that doesn't mean you should just give up on recycling. No. But there is a way to do it. And it also doesn't mean that we should just throw everything in the recycling hoping that it can be recycled. That's called wish cycling. And there are big problems with that too. So we're gonna learn some rules about how to recycle the right way to make it worth it. The next one we have is recovery with resources and organics. So this is going to include all your food scraps because we don't want those in the garbage, and all the things that can be recovered as far as like the heavy metals and electronics, which are really, really important and take a lot of energy to mine out of the ground and get into your product. So there are special places that will recycle all sorts of things that we can recover bits and pieces from and use those in other products. Even treating wastewater could technically go in here because you're reusing that water for something else after chemically treating it to make it safer. If we can, it's important to get our food scraps and other organics into a commercial composting facility or our backyard composting, because that's going to be reused for new soil to make plants grow. And if it's in a landfill, then it's just going to sit there and decompose in a way that it's going to produce methane, which is a huge contributor to greenhouse gases and global warming. So we do not want our food rotting in our landfills with the rest of our trash. We want that into a composting facility where it can be used for something helpful in the future. Even the most extreme zero wasters, the ones that have like the little jars, like here's my garbage for the last 5 years, which good job for them, that's awesome. But they are going to have some waste that most likely ends up in a landfill. That down at the bottom of our waste hierarchy triangle, we have landfill with gas recovery and incineration. And I lumped those two together because it seems to be kind of a controversy on which one is worse or better for the environment, because both have pros and cons to them. You're capturing the methane gas that comes out of the landfills and using it for energy, but you're also not catching all of that methane. You can't catch all of it as it comes out, and that's going to contribute to global warming. And with incineration, I mean, you're burning a bunch of stuff. There's pretty obvious consequences to burning a whole bunch of trash. So we're just going to lump those together and kind of keep them near the bottom. Because you don't want your stuff to end up in a landfill. But if you do have it end up in a landfill, you'd rather have it at least capturing some energy instead of just sitting there for forever. At the very, very bottom of the period, kind of like oozing out of the bottom, is our unmanaged waste. And that's going to be the guy like driving through the sludge in his truck and throwing his McDonald's to go out the window and just leaving it in the field. So it's waste in the environment that didn't get put into a certain waste stream, and it can have all sorts of awful complications being out there, whether it's photo degrading and breaking down into smaller and smaller microplastics and releasing toxins into our water and our soil, or an animal's ingesting it and getting sick or dying from eating the garbage that gets out into the world. So none of that's good. That's what we really, really want to avoid, is having that unmanaged waste. So we want to stick up here, we want to avoid down here. And if we can, staying up at the top. But you aren't going to be able to be perfect. Like, I am down here, right? Most of my stuff is either going to be recycled or recovered, or a lot of it's going to go into a landfill. With a family, that's kind of hard to control, because kids are hard to have a waste reduction plan for, but we're trying. And pat on the back if you're doing a good job, and let me know what you're doing with your kids to reduce that waste stream in your household too. So that's our waste management hierarchy triangle, and it's just kind of getting us started to think about how we think about our waste. And we're going to go through each one of those levels more in depth. So if you don't want to miss any of those videos, go ahead and click on the subscribe button and also the little bell so you get the videos when they come out, and then also our Greener Demeanor videos too, to help you start living a greener life altogether. And if you have any comments as far as I think this should be here, I think this is more important than this one, go ahead and let me know down below. This is just one of many, many waste hierarchy models. There's all sorts of different ones. There's like official EPA ones and county ones. So this is just picking and choosing the parts that I think were most important from it overall. All right, thanks for watching, and we're gonna continue with our next video here and learn more about each of those levels of that pyramid. Thanks.